$1,000 in referral fees sounds fun. I would like to have part of that for sure. Hope all y'all are going to listen up for that piece. Alicia, I believe I saw you for our coaching spotlight.
Hi.
Hey.
Hi. Yay, slides. Kind of like a broken record with these two. So Sam and Yanni closed another escrow with a buyer, and they are in growth coaching with me. And then we have Kathy, who actually signed a BRBC with a $3 million buyer from Instagram. You guys, she doesn't know these people. It's from Instagram. Social media works. Get out there, do the jobs, do the things. We also have another BRBC signed with Lexi, and that one was from her sphere. And then we have Yang, who closed another escrow with a buyer and actually graduated the launch program with me. Yay for everybody.
Congratulations all around. That is wildly awesome. And we're getting ready. August is coming. Get those BRBC signed. And I love that Kathy Handel got it signed from an Instagram person that she doesn't actually know, which again just goes to show, just ask the questions, approach life with confidence, and get your things dialed in. Broker Bob, I just saw a super cool slide for you. So give us the broker update, please.
Evie, do you have the rest of my slides?
I just want to see the cool one with the water trickling by again.
I'm joking, Evie. I didn't have any slides. I just wanted to see you freak out. Sorry.
Don't do that, Robert Shantz. No.
You can get me back later.
You better be lucky you're all the way there in San Diego, okay? Oh my God.
She's been sick.
I just felt my entire body in like a temperature rise up here.
All right, here's words of wisdom from your broker. Got a listing that was built in 1915 and it's a house. It might have some issues with it. So highly recommend maybe you talk to your seller about, here's some things we should do prior to going into escrow. Maybe we should do a property inspection so we can deliver that as a disclosure to any buyer that wants to look at the property. Why? Because when the buyer then is making the offer, they know from an original report from a third party what that report says, and they're making that offer based upon knowledge of what could possibly be wrong with the house. So it doesn't freak those buyers out when they get into escrow. On a 1915, 200 square feet, no, it's not 200, maybe it's not even 1,000 square feet in Metro for $1 million. So that kind of popped up today and we're seeing a lot more of that pop up, right? Because buyers are going out there and they're like, wait a minute, 800 square feet, North Park, postage stamp, I'm paying $1 million. They're expecting the house to be turnkey, but guess what? It ain't. So that will help your escrows. It'll help the buyers that you have with your listings be prepared when they go and do their own inspection. Other updates, we're still in a holding pattern in regards to the release for the car forms based upon the NAR settlement. So we're still there. We're just waiting for it. But my recommendation is start acting as if you are it's already August 17th. So you should be getting BRBCs on all of your buyers today. You should be talking about full transparency with commissions today. You are coming next week to see what these top agents are going to talk about their buyer presentations, what they're dealing with today, because these questions are already being asked. We're starting to see buyers show up at listings wanting to deal directly with the listing agent because they think they're going to save money. So next 6 months will be interesting. Hold on. It's going to be a fun ride. We're going to help you navigate and get through that because we got it going on with our training and coaching and mentoring and counseling and leadership here at this office. So get tuned in, dialed in, and listen and get ready to grow. That's it. Don't forget those property inspections on those 1950, 800 square foot North Park homes that are $1 million.
Thank you, Robert. There was a lot to unpack and a lot of goodness in there. And we hope that Evie is recovered from your terrible torment from afar. All right, property pitches. Who has a listing coming soon on the market that you want to share with the group today? shout out, raise your digital hand, make a loud noise, do something of the kind so we can call on you to share before we get to our featured moment of the day. I mean, I heard counseling too. Ryan, welcome back. And
Hi.
property pitching. I love it.
So my neighbors asked me to sell their townhouse in Linda Vista, the 92111 zip code right near the Rady Children's Hospital and Sharp in that area. It's a three bedroom, 2.5 bath, with a 2-car garage, tri-level townhome. Going to be going live the middle of next week. And then next weekend, we'll have first open houses. So I already got a couple of the agents in the office that I saw today volunteer to do open houses that first Saturday, the 13th, I think. But if anybody has any buyers looking in the Linda Vista area, we're going to list it at 750, and it'll probably go a little bit north of that. So keep me in mind if you have somebody that fits that. It's a VA approved complex as well. And bonus points, they get to have me as a neighbor. So I don't know if that raises the property value or lowers it. I mean, that's subjective, I guess. But I do fire up a mean barbecue, and I smoke a lot of stuff and I share. So there's that.
We're going to leave all the stuff you smoke to you and your neighbors, Ryan, and we're going to say
me.
congrats on the new listing.
maybe
Smoking
other
all your
stuff too.
meats. That's awesome. I see Alicia in the chat. Alicia, would you like to speak out loud? Because that's the point.
Well, I can, but I can't really share too much because I don't have it signed yet.
Okay.
So that's it. So, okay, Lemon Grove, 3-bed, 2-bath, about just under 1,300 square feet, great views on a canyon, really good sized lot. It's about 3,100 square feet, 3,100. That's about a half acre, which is like weird for that area. On a cul-de-sac too. So I think I'll have it signed by next week.
Okay. So you'll tell us more next week.
Next week.
So many versions of me talking. That's a lot of me. Okay, Judy has an open house opportunity in Chula Vista. If you are interested, get in that chat and talk to her or text her. And Gaga, is Gaga next? I don't know. Is that a code?
No, I don't know. I just have to say that I have that listing in Escondido and it's back on market. No fault of the seller. The buyer could not perform. So it's a 1-bedroom, 1-bath condo. It's beautiful, remodeled, super cute in North Escondido, close to San Marcos. We can accept only cash and VA offers. So it's $357,000. So if you have anybody, send them my way. And that's all that I have.
But look how you're delivering it with such a great smile. Good job, Gaga. Cash and VA buyers, get them in there. Anybody else have something to share in property pitches coming soon, maybe coming soon, already signed? Speak now or forever hold your peace, or at least hold it until you write it in the chat and share it on Facebook and talk about it next week. All right, without further ado, I am going to get to our featured speaker of the day with the fabulous Nikki Francis. I am loving the feedback I get on these ALC interviews, y'all. Everyone, you all get something different out of them. I'm so proud of our ALC members for wanting to show up and share and tell their stories so everyone can get to know them better. And our other top agents, it's mostly the ALC that I've been highlighting this year. And Nikki, as Ashley says, her fabulous hair matches the backdrop, her signature color of purple. Her and Evie have that in common, and it's blowing in the wind. So thanks for giving us some fun action to look at while we get going here today, Nikki. I'm looking forward to this one, y'all. Commercial real estate is something that Nikki and I have bonded on since I came to be team leader here. I'm in my 4th year. I don't know, a long time ago. And we feel very similarly that, like, although everyone could possibly do it, it's not in everyone's best interest to do it. And so having a strong commercial director in the office who can take referrals, help you make connections, get paid out. I love that she just shared there was $45,000 of referrals fees paid out. Was that just this year, Nikki, or? Yeah. So today we're going to get to know Nikki and her background and what goes on with her. And listen up, because I promise you that every one of you probably has a commercial referral lying in your world somewhere that you don't even know is there. And remember when I say, people will go like, oh, I don't know if that's weird with my friends. I'm like, if they have a real estate need and you aren't helping them, then you aren't helping them and they're your friend. So it doesn't really sound like the right thing to do. Also, if you are choosing not to help them, and then they go ahead and accomplish their real estate need and goal anyway without you, how do you know they're not using someone who lacks integrity and isn't good at their job and is a terrible human? So like, then you're not only not helping them, but you're harming them, right? So remember, you're helping your people. When you look at it as helping, you're going to be able to really get out of your own way and do more of it. So Nikki, let's start at the beginning and give me we're all here today, right? It's not just me. Give us your background and tell us what brought you into real estate.
Sure. I started my first company when I was 19. So I had a marketing company. So I always had kind of an entrepreneurial spirit. That marketing led into business development. So I've always pretty much been in sales. The business development led me to a tech company. So I had launched a startup that was eventually purchased by Best Buy. So that was pretty cool, a lot of work. And then sales eventually led me into real estate because I wanted the flexibility and no ceiling on what I could earn, but more time for my family. So I started on a big residential team, found pretty quickly that I wanted to focus on listings and on a big team. On that particular team, the Rainmaker did not allow the agents to take listings. So I became independent, then got recruited by CBRE on the commercial side of asset management, did that concurrent with KW, which was 80-hour work weeks. And I knew that I couldn't sustain that for much longer or die. So I made the choice and became full-time KW commercial and focused solely on commercial sales. And then I found my home at Metro and everyone lived happily ever after.
So that was a lot of good information. It was fast. So what year did you start in real estate?
This is my 10th anniversary in sales. I started in architectural engineering construction back in 2002, but in real estate sales 2000 think about it, 2014. So
10-year anniversary.
10-year anniversary. Mm-hmm.
Awesome. And so you joined the team that year. And then when was it that you went into CBRE?
I went into CBRE 2016.
Okay. So 2 years later. And then when did you join Metro?
2018.
Okay. So 2 years later. And then now obviously that's home sweet home. So now we're all set to go.
Honestly, a game changer. The mindset, the people, the energy, the camaraderie. It was amazing because my personal routines didn't change that much, but the people I surrounded myself did, and I was just happier. And it's amazing when you have that external support, how much better you do in business. Just be happy where you are.
The external support is so key, and you'll hear it always said, like who you surround yourself with matters, or look at the 5 people who you spend the most time with, and they'll tell you a story about your life that you're living. And so I love that you reflect on that and what was the change for you in your business and coming to Metro. So now let's fast forward. You're in year 10. What has been your greatest achievement this last year?
It sounds funny, but just surviving a very difficult and emotional transaction, that was a tough one. And making the conscious decision to work with listings only. That's a transition because you have to be able to bite the bullet and know that there's going to be a little bit of a gap of revenue. If you're going to focus on listings only, you're going to be giving up that time with buyers. So you have to be willing to have that gap. Probably the biggest thing too for me this past year was hitting top GCI numbers. That was a bonus, but the biggest and greatest achievement will be helping my daughter get her first home.
Aw, yay, I love that. I love that one. That's really good. I want to go back to the first thing you said, because I've talked to a few agents lately who have had bumpy transactions happening and they can be derailing. So we all coach through it and talk about it. based on your 10 years in the industry and having just said that one of your greatest achievements in last year was surviving a rough one, give us a pro tip or what works for you in the strategy of like getting through it and coming out strong on the other side.
Sure, that one's easy. Nothing is permanent. It's kind of like Boston weather. If you don't like it, wait a minute. You know, it's also real estate, not brain surgery. So nobody's life is hinging on a transaction. And yes, it can be difficult and yes, it can be emotional, but there's no other industry in the world where we can make the kind of money that we make with the kind of freedom that we have with absolutely no ceiling on our potential growth.
Nothing is permanent, whether good or bad. It's such a good, simple thing to remind yourself of always. Whatever, whether you're celebrating or having sadness, just remember it keeps going. That's something everyone can pull from for sure. Awesome. And I love the last one that you're helping your daughter buy her first property. I mean, that's what a gift, what
That's
a win.
huge for me. Yeah.
Yeah, that's really cool. Okay, so you talked about it a little bit with moving to listings only based on all the changes in the industry. What changes, if any, are you making in your business?
The listing end of it was a big one. And for commercial, it's a huge one because our lead time is sometimes a year, year and a half, 2 years sometimes. So you've got to be able to pace yourself and make sure that you're, you know, saving properly and managing your business properly. That's one of the big ones. And the other for me is I'm not getting any younger and the hair is blowing because I'm a hot mama and I have a fan on me. So it's a 5-year exit strategy. You know, I don't plan to be in the business more than 7 more years. So that means that I need to change from commercial sales, in other words, from selling real estate to owning real estate. So we'll be talking about that a lot when we have the commercial breakouts for the agents to see, you know, there's people in their 20s and 30s that can be on that plan. You don't have to wait until you're grandma. But the last part of it is what would be next or what I'd be doing is my grandsons really want to get into the industry and they're 10 and 12. So we have Financial Fridays every Friday, and every day I see them, they ask, how old do I have to be to work with you, Grandma? And how many more years do I have to wait? So I go, my 5-year strategy is right about when you're turning 18. So we have it put into place for them, and that's just a really cool thing to be able to do.
I love that you're giving them the gift already and, you know, planting the seed and empowering them to understand. If you were somebody who did any of the KW Wealth sessions or you went to CEO Summit last year and listened to Brett talk about how you can actually get your kids a head start or your grandkids a head start and how you can do that legally and start building up their different portfolios. And no, it doesn't mean you have to be a bajillionaire to do that. It's just some simple strategies that you utilize. I love that you're doing that with your family already. That's going to be meaningful for them. And it's a good reminder, like you mentioned, even in your 20s, it doesn't matter what age you are. If you're hearing something that Nikki talks about today and you're thinking like, oh, well, she's been doing it for so long, or now she's planning her exit strategy. Y'all, I talk to agents all the time who don't have an exit strategy. And when I talk to them about like, hey, what if we could do this for you and with you to help you keep making money beyond the time you're working, putting up open house signs and signing contracts, you know, how does that sound for you? You'd be surprised. Some of them are like, no, I'm good. And I'm like, okay, you had this big business you built for all this time. And like Nikki's saying, 10 years in, already thinking 5 to 7 years from now, you're really kind of at your midway point. If you look at 7 years, I know it's not exact math. Math's not my forte, but
Joke about, you know, middle age too. Middle age, unless people talk about middle age being 50 or 55 or 60, like I don't plan to be 120 years old. So middle age is really like 30, 35. So the only regret I have is that I didn't know then what I know now. I would have started when I was 25, 30, but I didn't even get into the industry until I was 40.
Yeah. So wherever you are, I want you to hear what she's talking about and think of like, what if that resonates with me? And even if nothing else, then think, what would I want my life to look like when I retire from real estate? And I'm doing this, but I mean, actually, right? But that you'll still keep making that mailbox money because your database is your asset and you should keep earning from it forever if you build it the right way. Okay, good. So tell us now, what does a typical workday look like for you?
Routine. You know, I'm definitely a KW girl. So one of the first things I did was dive into bold, and I've never stopped being bold. My game changer was circling a top agent that when I was moving into the independent space, I'm like, well, if I'm leaving the team, I'm afraid that I won't have the routines or whatever that I have with the team, right? So I knew I had to develop something that worked for me. I still use that platform today, which I've shared with some of our other agents. And if anybody ever wants my dashboard, I've been very open about sharing it. It's extremely routine and very, very rigid. I'm up at 4, no later than 5. I have about 30 minutes of mindset, 30 minutes of day review, calendar, and priorities. 9 to 11 is prospecting, focusing on right now business, like what can I close in the next 30 days. 12 to 3 is transactional tasks, meetings, and showings. And then 4 p.m. is prepping for the following day. What is missing from that, which is being added back in, is my health and fitness, which is usually around 6 a.m. I've been off for about 18 months, almost 19 months due to the car accident. And I've just been making excuses getting back in. So just like anything else, a routine is a routine. And when you're a slacker with something, be careful not to slide into that realm, and change is not always comfortable.
Yeah. Yeah. I love that you're sharing your routine and willing to share it openly. When you say prospecting, I know some agents hear that and go like, I don't know what that means. I don't know, what does that look like? Or for somebody like you who's got such a different sort of business, give us a little insight into what does prospecting look like for you?
Sure. And that's a really good question, Sarah, because as a residential agent, it was wildly different than what it looks like as a commercial agent. So as a residential agent, I would be doing the typical 20 calls a day, every day, and that's part of my dashboard. And if I was lacking in sales that week, I could go back and I could trace it right back to how many calls I'd made that week. And it's a whole lot easier to make up ground every day than it is to go at the end of the week and go, I didn't have any business. I didn't make any calls, right? Commercial is very different. It's outbound calls, but it's more strategic. So I take a look at, what's going in the market right now. I mean, the obvious is office is changing, right? So we have a lot of empty office spaces. So my calls are circled around trends and market research versus throw a dart, make 100 phone calls. So right now it's a lot of calling about office spaces, seeing if folks need to downsize, upsize, what types of businesses are moving into San Diego. Those are the folks that are going to need the spaces. What types of business are lacking because they have too much space? That'd be anybody that houses independent contractors like agents, insurance agents, anyone that doesn't have to have an office. Those folks have a lot of space left over, and just seeing how to connect the dots. Then following the older office buildings and seeing if those older office buildings have notice of defaults on them. So just like a residential agent would check a notice of default, we do the same thing. It's just on a different lens, but it's not different in the sense that even commercial has issue with, with finance, especially right now in an ever-changing market with interest rates being what they are. It makes it more and more difficult for the average investor to purchase at the rate that the seller wants and needs them to purchase at.
Mm-hmm.
So that's 2 hours a day.
Yeah. So since you're talking about prospecting and all the different kinds of businesses and how it correlates, I feel like that's a good time to talk about what kinds of things might our agents hear and what would a referral, like bringing a referral to you, talk about what that would sound like to them and how they should best accomplish that to be part of that 45,000 next time you're handing it out.
Sure. I mean, the best way to look at the commercial division is to be able to look at it like another arm or a third eye. Like when somebody says, do you do commercial? Like, yes, we do. You can say we do. And so let me loop in my commercial associate or my commercial partner. I'm your partner in all of this. So you don't necessarily have to say, I don't do it, but Nikki does. You can just say that we do, and let me loop in my commercial partner to you. Now, over 50% of what we look at, we don't take. So really it comes down to the same standards and basics as residential real estate, which you should be looking at every single deal and doing a win-win or no deal. So we analyze whether or not the seller is motivated, right? Whether the buyer is motivated and has the ability to purchase, and what their timing is. Simple as that. And then the feasibility of the project. Many, many times on the commercial side, the feasibility is like, I want to find a daycare that's this size with this big of a playground and yada, yada, yada. And if it's too specific, we don't sign buyer broker agreements because then it locks us into finding something that's 1,000,000 to 1, and that doesn't make sense. So every deal is different, whereas much of commercial is unique in that sense, whereas most of the residential win-win or no deal conversations have more of a routine or a pattern to them. But that being said, the easiest way to do it, Alex is one of the best, and so is Amy, and they're newer agents because I was able to, when he said, hey, I've got this person, what do I do? The easiest thing to do is a three-way text. Why? Because you're not interjecting yourself into questions that I'm going to ask again, and or they may bore of, or we can't hook them into something that what they say we can lock them into an opportunity or surface an opportunity that may work for them. So a simple, hey client, meet my associate Nikki. Nikki, please meet my client so and so, connecting you two for discussion on commercial. That's it. It's a 2-sentence text message that also lets me know who sent that to me. So I save that, and then I always know the agent that referred that to me, and then I'll let you know. Like, for example, Alex just referred a gentleman that's looking for a restaurant. I just happen to have a restaurant for sale. It doesn't always have to be something I have. We can help them with whatever. I ended up letting Alex know, hey, Alex, just want to let you know we're going to be looking at some showings today at 4 o'clock. I'll let you know how it goes. So you're informed on what's happening, and that way you're still abreast of what's occurring without having to be part of the conversation. Some of you have actually said, you know, I'm thinking about the commercial lane. If you want more visibility into commercial and you want more ability to look at the conversations and be on some of the calls, that's fine too. But I'm also very careful not to distract residential agents from their own business, or you can still be part of it, kind of learn and decide, hey, I really kind of liking this, or whoa, that's totally a different animal, don't like it at all. Please send me a check at the end. And then we let you know once we're under contract, and then we'll let you know once we close, and then we say, hey, come pick up your check.
And because for some people, this is like a new thought to them. They're like, oh, somebody wants to buy a restaurant or sell a restaurant. I didn't even think about that. What else, like what other types of commercial real estate would, is in your repertoire?
Well, my specialty is what's called adaptive reuse, and it's converting office space into residential or mixed use, specifically really focused on medical office. So if you are, everybody goes to the doctor, right? So if you hear of or know of or see an opportunity for medical office or know of a doctor that's moving, especially dentists never move, so they make great tenants. If there's a dentist in an office and you know that office will be selling, I'm always looking for sellers. So medical office is a forte, but really you interact with commercial space every day, and most people don't think about it. It's just like Steve's one of my favorite phrases where he says he's driving around, he sees a garage with a dog-eared garage, and he's thinking, I'm just going to get out of my car and knock on the door, right? Because he sees the opportunity, because he's trained himself to see there may be some distress there. That person could be an older person, unable to take care of their property. They may want to sell, and they may not have a relative that's taking care of them. Commercial's the same way. When you're in your favorite deli or in your favorite restaurant, just have your ears open. If you hear of somebody needing to expand their, oh, this is too small for us, we've outgrown this space. Oh, well, we can help you with that. Let me connect you with my commercial partner. Just being aware, just like you are in residential. Just keep your ears open, because you encounter it every day without realizing it.
Yeah. And I think that way people are hearing some key phrases and words, think like, oh, actually, that might have just happened yesterday, or let me be aware next time that happens. That's awesome. Tell us what's keeping you up at night these days.
How much time do you have? Yeah, remember I did mention I'm not getting any younger. So it's usually that I think I forgot something. We call it like transaction mirrors, where I'll wake up like, I didn't send something out. Not really. It's that time is ticking, right? And that I have this very specific 5-year plan, and I did start in real estate pretty late. So it's staying on my game every day, consistently, without fail, whether I want to be or not. That's it. Because to be able to travel while I can still walk, I only have a limited amount of time.
I want everybody to hear that again, staying on your game consistently, whether you want to or not so that you can accomplish someone else's goals, but so that you can live your life the way you want to live it in the time you want to do it. That's really, really powerful, and something everyone should be reflecting on and thinking about. Does your day reflect your goal, and are you in alignment with yourself, right? That's all right. So what's working well?
Partnerships and relationships, I'd say. I'm not a super outgoing person, so I'm not a great networker in the sense that I'll talk to everybody in the room. But strategically, I will pick out 3 to 5 people that I want to meet. I'm like this with family reunion, as a lot of you know. Very strategic with those folks that are maybe 2 or 3 levels above me, so I can either learn from, or they're in the lane that I want to learn more of. So that seems to be working pretty well. I was pretty deliberate about that over the past couple of years, and that's worked really well. The other would be the ability to connect the dots, just always being aware of what all my clients need so that when the opportunity comes up, like when Alex said, hey, I've got this opportunity, I'm like, hey, I happen to be selling a restaurant. So it doesn't always work exactly that way. But when you're working with investors, each of them have their own forte, their own dollar amount, their own timing, and just being aware of all that and the ability to connect the dots is very helpful. And then I guess the other is the creative problem solving end of things. And I have to credit Ashley for that. And that was through, her personal program of really kind of leaning into the creativity. And you'll see that with cakes and all that jazz, but it works in business too, because leaning into the ability to creatively problem solve and not thinking that you're an oddball just because you're not coming to the table with a spreadsheet. I just come to the table with a spreadsheet that's color coded and just kind of lean into that and make it make sense. And it gives me the opportunity to think outside of the box and solve problems that other people are like, how did you get that done? And I'm like, I didn't really think about the obstacle. We just kept looking at the solutions until we found one that fit.
That's a lot. Those are a lot of things that I hope we record it so you can go back and listen. Discover Your Destiny is the course you're talking about with Ashley. That's super helpful in figuring out what makes you you and getting you to where you want to be. And I want to ask you, because you said the first thing you said was leveling up your conversations and surrounding yourself with people who you think are just a little bit beyond you or above you in success. So where did you learn to do that?
I was an only child, so I always did that.
Okay.
I didn't really have brothers and sisters to look for. So if I wanted to learn something, I had to seek outside my immediate circle. So it's sort of natural for me. In the real estate space, I always just looked at the top agents I could find. And then I just said, hey, can I sit down with you for 15 minutes and buy you a coffee? And just sort of ask them, or what can I do for you? Volunteering time. We have great, the newer agents don't ever feel like you're being taken advantage of when somebody says, you want to host an open house for me? Say, sure. How do you do it? Anytime there's an opportunity to follow a top agent and being somebody that has a experienced headspace, I would do it. And I'm doing that every day. Like, I feel like I've made some great strides, but I'm still an infant in the realm of where I really want to be. So I just got back from a big investment conference, and it blew my mind because that's the direction I'm going. But those were all things that were completely outside of my wheelhouse. That I'm like, oh, wow, you feel like you know what you're doing. And then you're like, wow, I know nothing about what I thought I knew I was doing. And then it just continues to open that door and feed that intellectual integrity that makes you all tick.
It's very meaningful. And the other thing you had said before was that you're really introverted. So spending time with others, I forget your exact words. What I want everybody to hear is you don't put yourself in a box, because Nikki identifies as oh, I'm introverted. That can be challenging for me. And yet she also has spent her whole life asking questions and putting herself in the room and surrounding herself with the people who are going to help her understand what happens at the next level and how can I bridge the gap to get there. That's really powerful.
That's what's super great about our market center too. Right. So as you all know, when I first came there, I was sort of freaked out because everybody was huggers. And I'm like, right. And then now I love it. But initially I was like, oh my God, people are hugging me. Right. I was like, ah. And Kareen, every time I would see Kareen, she was one of my big huggers. And of course, Steve and Jack, loved them. And now I embrace it so much, but it took me 4 years to get there. But it also opened up the door to say, we have the kind of market center, and that's, obviously led by Ashley and Broker Bob and you and everyone in our market center. We have such a unique dynamic that affords the possibility where if you want to learn something, all you have to do is ask. And I don't think there's a member on the ALC that hasn't outreach. A lot of us show up for the new agent luncheons and things of that nature. And I think we have such a unique and wonderful group that there's a lot of energy there in which the new agents can grow. And we, as old, experienced agents, we're kind of we remember when we were little kidlets, and remember we had all these questions. We thought every question was a stupid one, and none of them are, because we all had them at one time. And we, I really have to thank the market center for that dynamic.
You're awesome. Thank you. Thanks for your cupcakes. What's next for you?
What's next for me is moving into the syndication and investment space, and it's terrifying. because I always felt like, oh, I need a finance degree to do that. And the one thing I came out of it is understanding, no, because it was kind of funny when some of the speakers, and we're all making like $300,000, $400,000, $500,000 a year, they're like, how much does a CPA make? And you're asking them to teach you how to make more money because you think you need their degree. No, you just surround yourself with the professionals and you rely on their information, just like attorneys and everyone else. Don't try to be that. You just use that as you need to get the type of information that you need. So I started a syndication group with an associate of mine in the KW commercial. He's in Florida, and we are putting together a group for agents 50 plus that are on the 5-year exit strategy plan. So we're selling less, investing more, and I am happy to share that with this market center as we continue to roll that out.
Sounds really cool.
Scary, but cool.
Yeah.
Passive income is really where it's at for me at this point and stage of my life.
I mean, everything new is going to be scary at some point, and anything worth doing should scare you at some point. So
I'm
it sounds
writing
like
my
it's
first
doing the
book.
buttons.
Thank you, Erica, for inspiring me. I have about
Writing
10
your first book.
I am. I have about 10 books I've written since I was younger, and they're all in my storage, just sitting there with pretty little dust on them. And I'm like, why? Now is such an easy way to get things on Kindle and Amazon and get it out there. So that's my creative goal this year is to get my first book launched.
So we won't see cupcakes for a little bit because your creativity is going into book.
That is correct.
Okay.
But I will be bringing some for Pride. So our Pride on the 17th.
Nice. That's exciting. Keeping it fresh and keeping your brain percolating. That's important. If you could give one piece of advice to an agent who's looking to level up their business, what would it be?
One piece of advice. It's hard because there's so many pieces of advice. I'd say the one thing is the simplest thing, which is consistency. You know, the whole phrase "real estate is simple, not easy" is super true. Add to your database, feed it, nurture it, go after opportunities. Don't wait for them to come to you. That's the biggest game changer for me. Is my business was 100% referral, and the downside to that is, A, you're paying referral fees, which I'm glad to do, but you're also wedded to the type of business that comes to you. If you don't like that type of business, go out and get your own. So that's one of the things that you can really control. Be flexible and continuously be willing to adjust, and then make sure to implement self-care, which I don't do enough of, but I'm working on it.
We're all a work in progress. Where does most of your business come from?
It's 50% referral, 50% past clients. So it's all referral. And I wanted to, again, focus more on listings. And so when I'm getting a referral, if it's a smaller referral and it's a buyer, I find that I had to instill like a cap of a minimum commission rate. Otherwise, I would be drowning myself with running around, and, you know, buyers take more physical time. And I had to weigh out how much time I had, who I could work with, who my target client was, and what the minimum threshold was.
How's it working out for you now that you've put those standards in place for yourself?
Much better, because I know immediately what type of business I can't take. It's helped me create templates for new, let's say new businesses and startups. They're incredibly time consuming. I love them all, but I can't sit with every person and help them write a business plan. It's not my job, right? But it's really easy for me to do that because I can do that. So I find myself like getting sucked into things that are like, is this task right now making you money? If you don't ask yourself that every day, every minute of every day, you're not going to make enough money. It's simple as that. So I started creating templates for folks. And if it's a new business, I let them know exactly, like if it's a lease, for example, this is what the landlord's going to ask of you. Do you have all this? Do you have a business plan? Do you have 2 years of taxes? Do you have 3 months of bank statements? Have you had history in this business? If not, do you have a guarantor? If you don't have either one, do you have a lot of money in the bank or somebody that will do that for you? Because those are all the things that are going to be asked of you. If you don't have any of that, here's a template on how to get started. And I start them with SCORE because that's the free business administration SBA platform of retired, you know, individuals that help new businesses get off the ground. And it might, you know, it's sometimes hard pill to swallow, but they sometimes need a year or two to get in position to where I can actually even place them.
Well, and it's really just the same education that goes into, like, somebody wants to buy something, but if you don't, as the agent, get into business with them sooner to start telling them, here's the path and here's what it looks like, then you're not actually helping them, right? You're doing the same thing that you would do in residential, but in commercial.
Right.
Although that's not where you spend the bulk of your time, because that's not in alignment with the money-making part. I want to jump. You mentioned ALC and you're here as an ALC member. You've been on the ALC for several years with me here. Why do you keep coming back?
I kind of mentioned a little bit earlier, it's sort of like ALC is sort of like the homecoming committee. And that's how I felt when I first came in as an independent agent. The ALC was the game changer for me, going from a big team of which I was like a suckling child to, I'm getting my training wheels and I'm going to be a big girl now and be on my own. The ALC was instrumental in helping me going, hey, you could do it, or here's some things that we did. There was a lot of outreach. There was a lot of support and unique perspectives. And, I really had a springboard of support for questions and the opportunity to follow around top agents, be inspired and take notes. And I feel like I have a responsibility to provide the same thing, especially in a market center that personally gave me so much, and in a market center that has such high integrity levels in business.
I love that. For anybody who doesn't know what the ALC is, and I mean, you just described it really beautifully, what would you say to someone coming into Keller Williams or coming in as a new agent? Like, ALC is this.
It is your voice and the liaison between the agents and the leadership. Use it.
Yeah. Use it. How should they use it? For people who are like, I've never reached out to an ALC member, or I don't know what that means. Like, what should somebody do?
Yeah, during the new agent luncheons, I almost always will take 2 or 3 folks over to the wall and say, here's all your people. Get to know the faces, get to know the names. We should be available to you. If you ever have a question, you can reach out to me and ask. If I don't have the time or the ability right that minute, I can either follow up with you later or connect you with somebody else. But I think a lot of times, when you're a new agent, you're like, I don't want to bother anybody. And the point is we're there for you. We basically work for you. So it's our responsibility to make sure that you have a good relationship with not just your market center, but your career. And believe me, between all of us on that board, and as long as we've been in business, we've probably been through what you've been experiencing, especially your first few years, knowing how difficult it is, even more so now with a layered, legalities and different contracts. We've been through it. We have some creative solutions for you and some support. So it's safety in numbers. And when in doubt, that is what will make the difference, I think, sometimes between someone feeling alone and trying to do it all by yourself. Even if you're a new solo agent, you're never alone because you've got that group of, people that are saying, hey, we're here for you. Don't be afraid to reach out and get to know everybody and seek us out at team leader meetings and the new agent luncheons.
Yeah. And it's a lot of why we came up, like, this idea was born from helping people understand and get familiar and feel comfortable with ALC. And then also seeing like each person shines in a different way, right? So knowing who shines and who you relate to the most and just building that relationship. I love that. Okay. So whenever I ask the question about where do you see your business in X number of years, it's funny, I had gone to 6 for a while, and then you said you have this 5 to 7 year plan going on. So talk to me about, what is your business going to look like as you phase into handing it off and getting into traveling and enjoying your life? Like, what will that marker look like for you?
Well, part of that is being an information maniac, and I've always done that since day one. So I have this, what's called a dashboard. And so anyone I've ever spoken to, be it a buyer, be it a seller, be it a lead, they're in a spreadsheet, they're in a database. So they're all separated by investor, whether or not they're residential, commercial. If they're commercial, what lane are they in, industrial, retail, whatnot. And so for the next 5 years, there's a really aggressive plan to stay in growth of the medical office space, because again, I think that's where medical office and storage is where all the sales are going to be. As many of you know, my second territory is Las Vegas. So I'm moving several companies from California to Las Vegas this year, which is exciting and terrifying at the same time. And my oldest grandson is 12. So he is on my 5-year plan. He talks to me every Friday about what he wants to do. And he's at 16 going to be kind of apprenticing for me. We'll see if he hangs in there. People want to do things. And at the end of the day, are you going to be able to put in the work? Notice I said my grandkids, not my oldest daughter.
Yeah.
Some people want to hustle and some don't. So I'm really excited about that. So I feel, just from a family standpoint, I'm really excited to share that with him. But basically going from sales with the determination of going into investment, which means that I won't have a lot of expendable cash. So I had to start looking at my conferences, which I was doing maybe 10 a year, and I brought that down to 5. So I said, cut down on travel. We're not going to get a new car, whatever the case, because that money needs to be saved to pour back into the business so I can start putting that money into funds, into syndications, into money that's going to have to sit there to grow so that in 5 years, it won't be so painful to stop selling because I'll be sitting on money that makes money for me.
Yeah. I mean, I think you'll definitely have a lot to share with people as you're walking through it. And I know you've talked about doing something like maybe quarterly within the office. So we'll definitely be staying tuned to see what that looks like with you. Tell me, what didn't I ask you that I should have?
Why don't I quit on the bad days?
Yeah. Why don't you?
And we all joke about this, that if you don't quit real estate at least once a month, you're doing it wrong.
Yeah.
I keep going back to that. Like I said, what other business in the world can we have the kind of freedom that we have, be associated with super cool, kick-ass people like this group, make the kind of money we do, have no ceiling on what we can earn, and really have all the freedoms. If you think about how bad it is, just for 1 second, close your eyes and go back to thinking about being in a cubicle or punching a clock or wanting to run off on a trip at the moment's notice and you can't, or wanting to visit a relative in another city and you don't have to answer to anybody. So you focus on the really awesome things that are about this industry and the unlimited amounts of growth, and that keeps me happy every day.
What a great, you said,
And
why
Broker
don't I
Bob, I
quit?
gotta give Broker Bob credit because there were a few days last year where I was like, I had the razor blade out, right? I was sharpening it. And I just get this random call from Broker Bob. Hey, how you doing? Good. All right. Click. That's it. That's all I needed. I don't care if I'm on a list where he's just going down the list, make sure everybody's still alive. But it's just, we have that kind of market center. And that started for me in COVID when we were one of the few market centers that got everybody on board and did a lot of the online camaraderie. And that has continued. And I forever love you guys for that.
Aw, Nikki, I love that too. Proof of life calls, we all need them. Ashley said, it's true. And I want
that to me as well. Thank you,
people
Ashley.
need to triple down on that though, because every agent, and Robert knows, and Ashley knows, and Jacqueline knows, and I know, anybody, Alicia knows, and Coach, like anyone who's led any agents in general, people have that panic moment of like, I don't know if I can do this. This feels so hard. This feels like a roller coaster. This feels impossible. And I'm like, congratulations, you're finally getting there. Like, you're earning the Girl Scout badge or the Boy Scout badge to understand that it doesn't have to feel like a roller coaster. We can build a business of consistency, blah, blah, blah. And the emotional moments of the wins and the losses will always come when you're dealing with such an industry like this. So I love that that's your last statement.
Yeah, I mean, the biggest thing I can say is it's the only industry I know of that every day we wake up unemployed. There is no taking a break from being an entrepreneur. You either are or you're not. You hustle or you don't. You make the decision to do it or you don't. But there's no middle ground. There's no, I'm kind of lazy today. Everything you do is going to show up in your in your successes, and there's no going back to fix it. So if you screw off and you take a week off and you want to run around because your friends are in town, great. Just know that you can't ever go back and fix that. So you're going to hustle up and go work twice as hard the next week. And that's it every week, every day. And if you do it consistently every day, then you have less ground to make up. Simple as that.
Nikki, thank you for being a shining light in our market center. Thanks for being a great leader on the ALC. Thanks for baking delicious cupcakes for people all the time. Even when you have a broken body part from a crazy car accident, you're not even telling us, you're just baking up cupcakes and just showing up with your smile. I appreciate you. I appreciate your giving energy of sharing so, openly today. And I look forward to the next many years with you and riding the wave.
5. You got 5 years with me.
I said many. I'm going to say many. You guys, if you have any questions for Nikki, holler at her, post them on the Facebook thread in today, reach out wherever you want. She is an open book for you. Happy Wednesday. Enjoy the 4th of July tomorrow and next week's team meeting in person, live buyer interview moment. It's going to be wild. Have a great day. Thanks, you guys.
Thanks for having me.
Bye.